And top of the morning, everybody. Good to have you with us as we get rolling on a Thursday edition of Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. Eric is on assignment. Troy Renck, who will be filling in my spot when I depart, and immediately making the show more intelligent. I can tell you that. That's the one thing I'm thankful for, is that I leave you guys all in better shape than when I found you. Let's start off, Troy, last night with the Avs real quickly. I want to get to something that you wrote about extremely well in the Denver Post. Obviously, we'll get to that in a moment. But let's talk about the Avs for a little bit right now. I'm a little confused to what I'm seeing with a team that's lost 3 out of their last 4 games all at home. Now, they lost in a shootout last night to Anaheim, but they've dropped 5 of 8 overall. Is this just kind of that natural little lull after going so hot out of the gates that we're seeing, or is there something deeper here?
Yeah, they were running on rocket fuel for the better part of 3 months.
Yeah.
And so, there was going to be a point in the schedule where they have hiccups, like unless you're going to have the all-time greatest season. And they still could. You get hot again at home. The surprising thing is some of these games have come at home. They lost to the Maple Leafs. That was a great game where they could have won that. McKinnon had a shot late, went off the post. Last night, it's just surprising. This was part of the issue they had a couple of years ago, kind of played to the level of the competition a little bit. Anaheim's nobody's idea of a true contender. And I do wonder if some of these guys, their eyes are wandering to the Olympics. They'll never say it. But you've got stuff coming up. It's such an unusual break coming in the schedule. And they just, when they're not great offensively, they're a little vulnerable. And even though last night, Wedgwood played well enough for them to win. I'm not concerned yet, is what I'm getting at.
Right.
McKinnon's playing at an MVP level. You were without Nichushkin for a couple with the car accident. They kind of moving some stuff around. If this goes on, leads into the Olympics, that's concerning, because now the last thing you want is to start the season the way they did, Bruce, and then play for 3 weeks subpar hockey and then have a 3-week break. Like, that's what you don't want. I do think this allows them to be coached again. They've had a couple of really bad losses. Allows you to be coached, hit the reset button. When I've been in that room, and I know you've been in there, these guys are all driven. There's an accountability factor. This isn't a prima donna team. This isn't the maybe Avs teams we've seen in the past that were known as skaters, not grinders. I'm not worried yet, but I do think it bears watching, especially when it's at home. Every team goes through slumps on the road for the most part. It's just some of these sluggish games at home are a little surprising.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, want to let you know that the best way to buy what you want at the price that you want is through Roller Auctions. Roller Auctions, the leader in Colorado auctions for over 45 years. Coming up on January 28th, the city of Longmont is having an auction for cell phones, government computers, police evidence, general surplus, and more. The bidding has already started at rollerauction.com. And don't forget to go to rollerauction.com for a full schedule of their auctions forthcoming. Time now for The Lead.
The Lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
All right, Jarrett Stidham in front of the media, quite a throng yesterday. All of us, I mean, I'm used to the 30 or 40 of us that are usually out there every day. I think we were about 3 times bigger yesterday with a throng of national folks that were there. It was pretty interesting stuff as we begin the countdown to the AFC Championship, first day of on-field preparations. Troy, I'll start off real simply. Did Jarrett Stidham win the press conference?
He left you, if you're a member of Broncos country, feeling good.
Yeah.
Winning the press conference, basically you just didn't want him to lose it. You didn't want to see panic. You didn't want to see, wide eyes like, I don't have this. This is not what I expected. He's everything like you and I talked about yesterday, Bruce. And I wrote my column, Jarrett Stidham can't win the AFC Championship, but Stiddy can.
Yeah.
And the guy you saw yesterday, that's Stiddy. Relaxed, easygoing, confident, but humble. I mean, he's got all the traits that why teammates love the guy. And I love the fact that, he deflected questions about the big picture, about his life becoming a Disney movie. But he did it in a way like, listen, I can't do that. Like, I get it. And he knows it. Like, he's acknowledging it. This is crazy. This has hardly ever been done before. But all I can do is do my job and jump on this moving train. So win the press conference. I don't know that he had to win it. You just didn't want him to lose it. Where you see him, because we've covered quarterbacks where they talk and you're like, this guy's not a leader. This guy doesn't get it. This guy, you can see his teammates aren't going to rally. All the things we wanted to see were on display. Smart, got a sense of humor. He gets it, and you can understand why his teammates are rallying around him this week. But for all that, and he's going to talk again today, that's what makes conference championship week different. They're made more available. Sean Payton has a conference call this morning. I'm sure he's going to be an absolute treat on that one.
Is Jarrett Stidham, by the time that we get to Sunday, is he a guy that maybe can't win you the game, but he sure as hell is a guy that might lose you the game? And as such, do you think that Sean will really be measured in the manner in which he uses them? He even used the term yesterday, hey, this is how this guy is, talking about his quarterback. He's a guy that just, we're just going to kind of let it rip. Are we really going to let it rip?
Yeah, I don't see that.
No.
And remember, Sean is the same one who said last year in Buffalo that Tyler Bidet was going to be a huge part of the game plan.
Right.
And like this sneak X factor. And I don't even know if he carried once. So sometimes things that are said in the media are meant to be for the other team. Like, oh, he's going to let it rip. He's going to let it go. And because they don't have a lot of film. I know Sean downplayed that. Like, oh, there's enough out there. It's not a lot, though. And it's not recent. Everything that teams do is usually the last 4 games.
Right.
His last 4 games were 2020, the end of the 2023 season. So I took that with a grain of salt. There is no way that Sean Payton's getting to the doorstep of a Super Bowl and then going to let a backup quarterback let it rip. Air quotes there. Now, do I think they will take chances if they get down 17-3, 20-10? Yeah. I mean, at that point, you have nothing to lose. You're not going to be able to play that close game win, But as long as they're tethered, 10-10, 13-13, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. Now, when let it rip for me, too, the second part of this answer for me, Bruce, is that could be one play, like the one we saw to Mims or little Jordan Humphrey.
Right.
But it's not going to be 30 for 48 passing 380 yards.
Right.
They don't have the weapons to do that. Like, that's the other part of that. Even if you wanted to let him rip, who's he throwing to?
Right.
And so that's the bigger thing. But I took it more like with his personality, more like be yourself, because that is true. Don't ask him to be something he's not. Have fun, be yourself, but make sure you put the seatbelt on. And maybe the governor is in the engine, especially until you have to go win it late.
Check out the Denver Post, Troy's work with Jeff Hostetler and Bill Parcells. Pretty interesting stuff. What do you take 35 years later from Jeff Hostetler's experience in particular, and maybe that of Bill Parcells as well, in the messaging in the week leading up to his team that can apply to Sean Payton and Jarrett Stidham?
So let's start with Parcells because he is Sean Payton's mentor. They talk almost every day as Payton drives into work. Because Bill's on the East Coast in Florida, Sean's here. As Sean's driving in to get in around 6 a.m., Bill's up, and they talk. He's still really sharp. His memory, I think he's 83, 84. His memory's sharp. So the backstory on that, I've been trying to get to talk to Bill for 2 years about Sean Payton. I've been able to text a couple things to him, but yesterday I had gotten Jeff Hostetler on the phone, so I'm like, I'm going to call him, and he picks up. Hello? And then I was like, this is Troy Renck from the Denver Post. He's like, you MFers, you're the 12th MFer that called. I can't believe I'm not talking to you. I was like, Bill, hold on. I didn't say Bill. I said, 1 second, coach. I just talked to Jeff Hostetler, and he told me this scene about you talking to the team. I'd love to hear you, why that message came about. Explain that message. And he's like, who? And I said, Jeff Hostetler, your quarterback. He goes, okay, I'll give you a minute. And then he says this quote, which is one of the funniest quotes I've gotten in years, where he said, he steps in front of the team, Bruce, and he says, if we lose this game, it's not going to be because of Jeff Hostetler. It's going to be because one of you dumb MFers is doing something dumb effing stupid.
That is a quote you don't get very often right there.
And But it creates accountability to the group. Like,
right.
don't you go blaming him. I love this guy. I have confidence in this guy. He's been here 6 years. I know he can do it. So don't play the victim on me. If we lose, it's because you guys didn't do your part. And so I went to McGlinchey yesterday and I said, I read him the quote from Parcells. And I said, what was Sean's message? And he looked at me and goes, it might have been similar.
Yeah, in Mike McGlinchey fashion.
So, and to your point, Jeff, so when I talked to Jeff Hostetler, what's very fascinating, he saw so many similarities. They're both 29 years old, both mid-round draft picks, both in their 6th year in the NFL, both really believe they could be a starter. Hostetler had gotten to the point, though, he wasn't the good vibes guy that Stidham is.
Yeah.
He was so upset and disappointed. I don't want to say bitter. That's not fair. But he had told his wife the week before, the week that Sims ends up hurting his foot, I'm done. I'm retiring at the end of the year. I can't take this anymore because there was no free agency like we have now.
Yeah.
And so he was stuck. He was playing on special teams.
Wow.
He played receiver in practice. He had a block punt at one point. He's just trying to get on the field. And the other guy's a Super Bowl MVP with a case to be a Hall of Famer. Frankly, if Sims had won the Super Bowl Hostetler won, he'd probably be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So when Hostetler gets in, he was just kind of like, finally, he really believed he should have been starting all along. That's not necessarily the case, Stidham and Bo. But he told me that, you know, he sees Stidham's, he sees the similarities, and he said, hey, put the blinders on. And the fact that his defense came up to him, Bruce, and the first to tell him, we believe in you, because they saw him in practice, which is the same thing that's happened out here.
Right.
And the fact that you can't hear the outside noise. Stidham's not on social media. I mean, I'm sure he hears, but he's not on social media. And he had, at that point, Hostetler was like, I vividly remember John Madden and Bill Walsh saying, I have no chance. You know, like guys that you were, and so, but he's like, I felt they could. And if you talk to Giants fans, they beat the Niners in the NFC Conference Championship game, 15-13, no touchdowns. He got hurt in that game, played through it. And there's Giants fans will tell you they could not have won that game with Phil Simms because it was Hostetler's mobility and ability to hold on to the ball when he was getting sacked that won that game. Because they played the Niners twice, lost 7-3 and won 15-13. Did not score a touchdown in 2 games against the Niners. And so he's just saying his message to Stidham was, I'm rooting for you, but be you, go win a game. Don't try to, you can't pick up the blitz. You can't tackle. You can't kick the field goals. Your job is to be mentally sharp and get the team in the right position. And it's when I heard that, I said, you know who that reminds me of? Peyton Manning, his last year.
Yeah.
He was hanging on by dental floss, and his best contribution was no negative plays.
Wow. When I'm continuing to listen to narratives now, and yesterday you and I were kind of jokingly, or Eric and I actually on Monday were kind of jokingly grasping at straws. You know, you look for the narrative that fits your hope or your desire the most. You know, can the Broncos somehow be competitive? And you start trying to figure out of thin air, well, this has got to happen, this has got to happen, this has got to happen. Are we talking ourselves into this a little bit that, hey, this is possible with Jarrett Stidham? Or is the job a hell of a lot tougher that by the time we get to Friday or Saturday, then we're making it out to be?
I know I've received enough emails ever since I wrote that I wasn't convinced by the Patriots win over the Texans, and I saw a pathway to victory, and I do.
Yep.
And I got accused then in those emails, you're playing to your audience. That's part of this.
Sure.
That I know who I write for, but I would not write they have a chance if I didn't feel they had a chance.
Right.
And the reason they have a chance is because Drake May has looked really shaky, and he's put the ball on the ground.
Right.
6 fumbles, lost 3. And he's been sacked 10 times. That plays into a road game and the strengths of the Broncos defense. That's why. If May had played unbelievable, I'd be like, you know what? Broncos are going to hang in. They'll be close, but no chance. The complete reason I think they have a chance is May has not played particularly well these first 2 games. And he's never played a playoff road game. The second part of it is it feels like Vance Joseph's defense has this one big haymaker they can land, because they did not play well against the Bills.
Right.
They had 5 takeaways, and that's how you win. But I think if memory serves, Bruce, the Bills were 11 for 16 on 3rd and 4th down conversions. That is insane. And they were good, good in the red zone. Like all the things the Broncos defense pins their hat on, which is 3rd down defense, red zone efficiency, it all disappeared. So if they get back to who they are, and you get some sacks that force May to play behind the sticks, that's for me how they have a chance. It's there. Nick Bonito, if he can channel his inner Von Miller and inner DeMarcus Ware from 10 years ago, that's how the Broncos won that game. Is they hit Brady, and then they hit him, and then they hit him again, and they impose their will. Can they do that? At home, they have a shot. Again, if this game were on the road for the Broncos, or if May was playing extremely well, say no. Or if the Patriots, frankly, if this was a year from now, but it's all new to them. So I'm just saying they have a shot. But you're right. We'll get to Saturday, and the stats are daunting. I know you know them. I mean, it's just the number of guys who've done this, and the last guy to do it in this case without starting was Roger Staubach in 72. Like, the history is just screaming the Broncos have no chance. I was listening to national radio driving home from Broncos last night, Bruce, and the host spent like 3 minutes on the game. They're like, oh, this game's over. It's a buzzkill. We all wanted to see Bo Nix versus Drake May, the future, this new rivalry. And then you got Chris Mad Dog Russo. I love Mad Dog. He's calling him Stickum instead of Stidham. And this other national host is just like, I don't even want to talk about this game. It's a waste. It's going to be 37-10. And I was just like, wow, did the narrative change? And I don't see that. I see a very competitive game that they have a chance to win. But it would still be an upset. I don't think any of us, Bruce, you're not saying, oh, it's obvious they're going to win.
No,
right?
No, I'm with you. I can see a path. Yesterday, I described it as I can see a path. I got to squint to see it, but I can see the path, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Do we get to a point now where all the pressure is on the Patriots and the Broncos are essentially playing with house money?
I think that's the key. That's the narrative the Broncos want out there. That, oh, you got Drake May, he's going to be MVP. I think it's Stafford, whisper Stafford, but he's the MVP. Mike Vrabel is going to be coach of the year, and they have no Bo Nix. Man, I know you had 4 wins last year and you got 15 now, but it'd be a huge letdown if the Patriots lose to the Broncos. And Jarrett Stidham, a guy they drafted, and at the right before camp, watched him play all off. She said, yeah, he stinks. We're going to go get Cam Newton. So that would be a huge punch to the face or the throat to, the New England fans if they lost to the Broncos. So if I'm the Broncos, I'm playing that up that idea, the narrative. Oh, we got no shot, nothing. And again, it reminds me a little bit of the Josh Fogg versus Jake Peavy. This idea of, no shot, they're going to win, you're going to run rulers type thing. And all of a sudden, here's this Broncos team, the little old Broncos team chugging up the tracks. And I think the one thing that people discount, and I understand because it's not really a fan issue, Sean Payton is great in these spots.
Right.
He's great. He's 17-5 with a backup quarterback, not just Bridgewater. But he finds a way to push buttons in these. He's great with the mental game in these spots. Great at pushing buttons. I think when he's favored at times in big games, he coaches tight. This is because I compare. Remember when they played the Chiefs? No Dobbins, no Pat Surtain. Chiefs have everything to play for to save their season, and the Broncos beat them. That's that 22-19 type. That's the same blueprint I see as how they could win this game.
The 17-5 with backup quarterbacks is an interesting stat because it speaks loudly to me on a more general term with Payton as the psychologist. And it's not something that he generally gets into. If you catch him at the right moment, you can get some insight into the way that he communicates and how he psychologically deals with players and situations, adversity, whatever the case is. But this is a particularly interesting study for Sean Payton because so much of the coaching this week will be psychological, won't it?
Yeah, it's the mental side.
Yeah, it's total mental.
Now, listen, there's a physical element to this where you can't have Stidham step on a rake,
Right.
and you're trying to get him as many reps as you can, and it's a challenge. Because he's been running scout team. I mean, you and I talked about this, the confusion that, they split reps during the season, the 1 and 2 quarterback. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
The backup quarterback gets like 1 rep every hour. Like, it's just, you're preparing to win a game, and they don't really practice in pads. It's so different once the season starts. But it is the mental side. It's the mental side. Can he get Stidham so sharp that he sees what he sees at the line of scrimmage? So he's hearing Sean as kind of the voice in his head, and Davis Webb. And to Stidham's credit, he's taken these meetings seriously for a couple of years. A lot of guys start to check out. Like, I'm not going to play. Bo never gets hurt. Do I really need to go over this 1 more hour? Everyone I asked about yesterday, and even throughout the last few months, like, man, Stiddy, he's ready, man. We trust him because we see how he practices. And that's the thing. If you want to lie to your teammates and tell them you're ready, that's on you. But practice, they say the eye in the sky doesn't lie.
Right.
And they watch him practice. And like, this guy, he's got an edge to him. He's doing no-look passes. He's talking shit to the defense every day. Like, that's the kind of guy you want to go in that feels like he should have this opportunity. But to your point, Payton has to be able to execute that mental side. And we've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about, as you said, like, confidence comes from demonstrated ability. I always say with kids, like, the hardest thing is to have confidence without results.
Yes.
When you're coaching kids. And he uses it a little bit different. It's like you gain confidence through being successful, essentially. And Stidham doesn't have that. But mentally, he can get that during the week. Like, he's seeing things. He's seeing looks. Can his mind be sharp? And that's the part we don't know, because when you get into an AFC championship game, the crowd's like one he's never played in front of. The noise, the stakes. It's easy for us to say Wednesday, Thursday, oh, man, this guy looks good. He's so relaxed. And then, the first play of the game, you throw a pick six. You know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah.
You watched with Oregon and, against Indiana. Yep. Everything sounds great. We got this. We played him before. And then first pitch, it's a pick six. You're like, oh, we don't got this.
Yeah.
And so those are the things, like the mental side, coaching Stidham, building him up. But the thing about Sean, he's not going to gaslight him either.
No.
That's the balance. He's not going to, you're so great. You could start for, Sean won't do that. He's going to give him confidence and then say, nobody thinks you can do this. They think you're terrible. Like, they think we should have, cut you and kept Zach Wilson. I guarantee you, those are the things he's telling him. That if we had Zach Wilson, we'd have better chance, because look at his arm talent. That's the stuff he pokes him at and then says, who does believe in you? I do. I'm not. Like, those are the things. He plays that game of, see that over there? Everyone thinks you stink. Nobody's going to watch this game. It's going to be the lowest rated ever unless you do what I think you're going to do. Like, those are the ways he does things that are very creative with the modern coach, especially given his age, how he stays in tune with the modern athlete.
And it resonates well with the modern athlete. All right, speaking of which, J.K. Dobbins, Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant were all on the practice field yesterday, all of them limited. I thought that J.K. Dobbins in particular looked much better moving in tight angles and cuts than I thought that he would. It gave me a little bit more optimism about his availability, perhaps. Don't know if I can say that about Troy Franklin or Pat Bryant, although Pat Bryant was fairly active yesterday. What are your thoughts on these three guys in this case being potentially available? And how careful do they have to be now in setting the roster? Because now all of a sudden you've got guys coming back. You've got 4 centers, for goodness sakes. Luke Wattenberg is back. I mean, there's all kinds of tricks now in being able to stock the roster the right way to get to your 53-man limit.
Yeah, the key is you can't make guys active that can't play,
right?
Or give you 1 snap and then he's out, because it hurts you on special teams. With Dobbins, though, it's worth the risk. Yes. If he goes out there and he carries the ball twice and his foot bothers him, for me, it's still worth the risk, because your run game is literally on fumes right now. And Dobbins' attitude, he was talking yesterday, he was confident. I don't know. I mean, he's 3 weeks ahead of schedule, so I don't know what's realistic. And it's a foot injury for a running back. It's not a shoulder, and his feet are fine. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I would be shocked if he doesn't play. I don't know if it's 10 for 40, if it's 8 for 50, and it's a third down, and it's a convert a third or fourth down at midfield that ends up being a field goal drive. Like, that's how I see Dobbins. I don't see him getting this huge workload. I could be wrong, but definitely based on yesterday, I feel like he's going to play. I'll be honest, I think the same with Pat Bryant. I don't know about Franklin, because hamstrings, I mean, if he came back from a true hamstring injury in a week, that it would be like Aaron Gordon-esque in the basketball playoffs. It's just almost impossible. But we'll see. I wonder with Bryant, this total speculation. He got hurt, and remember, he had a previous concussion.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they held him out more of a precaution in that game. That we just, you just had one of these. We're not going to. I don't know this. I didn't talk to Pat, but I wonder with him if they just, observed real caution, like we're not putting you back out there. And he did have, because I was like, how is he even back on the field because of the steps they have? But I forgot they played Saturday. So it was possible for him to be out there on a Wednesday, because normally in the concussion protocol, you're hurt Sunday. The earliest we would have seen him on the field is Thursday. But because they played Saturday, it's obviously a great sign. He's back the very first day he can be back. So maybe it was more out of just an abundance of caution. So I do think he's going to play Pat Bryant. And I don't know what that looks like, but he was on pace to catch like 10, 12 balls.
Yeah.
Like, so if he's right, I don't think we can dismiss, like, that's a big thing. At least get somebody off of Cortland Sutton. Give you somebody as another weapon. And he's so physical, Bryant. And he catches contested balls. Like, his game translates to games like this, in my opinion. He's the kind of guy that's grimy and a grinder, and I don't think the moment will be too big for him. So, and then I 100% expect Luke Wattenberg to start at center. And Forsythe did a nice job, but he's hurt his ankle multiple times over the last couple of weeks. It's not, and and Wattenberg's a bigger body against that huge Patriots D line. So him coming back, don't dismiss that either. That's not a bad thing either, based on this specific matchup.
All right, when we continue after the break, we're going to turn our sights to the game of baseball, the Hall of Fame. 3 more players going in, 2 of them most recently voted on. One of them, I think you can make the argument, is controversial, not because of his record playing on the field, but of things that he might have done off of it. We'll explain as we continue. Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hottakes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a pair of snowmobiles or nearly $18,000 in cash the weekend of February 20th. It's your choice what you want, the 2 snowmobiles or the cash. Earn daily entries with every locked-up jackpot or by redeeming points on your player card. You can also earn a chance to win during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
All right, back with Troy Renck from the Denver Post. Check him out at Troy Renck on Twitter. How much do you love the Twitter still, or is that just kind of a you got to do it? Do you enjoy it still?
Yeah. I mean, my Twitter village of friends of, I appreciate their insight and input.
Yeah.
I mean, I get people that troll me. I've learned to manage it better. I used to get mad and I want to go after people, and then you find out it's a 12-year-old kid, or it's just somebody it's a bot, and then what am I doing? But I do get mad and I want to go after them, but I like being employed as well. So, but I do enjoy. I use Twitter as a news service, the way it's set up. So it's just like an old news service. The Wire is what they call, everything's coming off the wire. Like, that's why I loved it. It's gotten confused. I just hate the way they've changed the algorithm, where the recent stuff doesn't show up the way you want it, and it's not as fun. It's not, but it's still a useful tool. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Threads. I don't post as much on Threads, but I've tried to do more on Blue Sky. Blue Sky, the difference there, and I learned this yesterday talking to someone that knows way more about it. They don't push down your stuff if you put a link in Blue Sky. Okay. The problem with Twitter, when you put any link in any post, they suppress it. So it doesn't get the action you think it's going to get, because they see it as a competitive link. So it goes down, where Blue Sky, I could post something on Blue Sky and I only have like 4,000, 5,000 followers on Blue Sky, and it'll get more traction there than it would on my Twitter feed, which has 81,000.
Wow. That's remarkable. All right. Well, good. The things that I learned, for goodness sakes. It really hurts not to be hip anymore,
I know you're going to miss Twitter when you leave.
Yeah. Don't do anything on it ever. So, yeah, I will miss it. I probably will. There will be certain ones that I certainly check in on, though. That there is no question about that. All right. I want to tell you that everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. And if you haven't tried Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew off of 36th and Pecos, what's keeping you? Get there for the Reuben smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. And don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, all for you at Smokin' Dave's, 36th and Pecos. Time now for What's Trending.
What's trending on Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl? Brought to you by Mile High Sports.
All right, Troy, let's get into something near and dear to you and I as baseball guys, and people are just going to have to indulge us, because every now and then I need to talk about the grand old game, and particularly when people are going into the Hall of Fame. Are you still currently a voter in the Baseball Writers Association? There you go.
I am.
You are a voter, a longtime voter. Andruw Jones, I knew was going to make it this time. Carlos Beltrán, I certainly thought would make it. But and we can get to Jeff Kent, who I'm not as high on, but that's okay. I understand his credentials. But let's first of all start with that trio. Are you good with that trio that will all go into Cooperstown this summer?
Yeah, I am. I voted for all 3. I get crushed because I don't vote for the guys who either tested positive for steroids or had an entire book done about them, about their steroid use, or testified in front of in a court proceeding about their steroid use or PhD use. It's not great. I don't like, as writers, you don't want to be in this position. That's the line I've drawn. If you tested positive, or if in a court proceeding you admitted to it, or if, in the case of Barry Bonds, an entire book of your test results. And Beltrán, but I did vote for the other 3. Beltrán was an interesting one because of the cheating with the Astros that he was involved with, he and Cora.
Yep.
And I did not vote for Beltrán initially when he was on the ballot. And I guess you say warm up to it. There's a weird way the ballot works, and I had to learn it, because I was like, well, why would you not vote for someone every time? Some of it's the way the ballot works. and there's obvious guys. And there were years where I was voting. There was way more than 10 guys you could vote for.
Right.
That hasn't been the case recently. Sometimes you're sending a little bit of a message, and I will say with Beltrán, that I'm not going to put him on the first ballot because of his actions in that Astro scandal that cost guys their job. The general manager, obviously the manager, and AJ Hinch, and they gave the players, essentially prevented them from any crime. But if you come forward, we won't hold this against you. So anyway, I didn't vote for Beltrán initially. I have recently. I voted for him on this most recent ballot. My ballot was only 4 guys. It was Andruw Jones, Carlos Beltrán, Chase Utley, and Jimmy Rollins. And that's it. And I get crushed for not voting for Felix Hernandez. He's one that comes up a lot. Dustin Pedroia, again, he's short because of the injuries. And you ask about the other thing. Jeff Kent, I had voted for Kent. He got in through the Veterans Committee. His was more of the power numbers for a second baseman. He's a comp historically. The hardest part, Bruce, with voting for the Hall of Fame, because I have kids, like my kids get the brunt of it. Oh, your dad votes for the Hall of Fame. I hate his ballot. Why didn't he vote for this? Take the steroid thing out of it for a second. The hard part is it's the 1 to 2 percentile. So if you imagine you're in a class, Bruce, and you got a 91 on the test, hey, I got an A in this class. I'm one of the best students. Well, the only 2 that are moving forward are the ones that got 98 and 100%. Like, that's the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of Very Good. Right. It's the greatest of the great. And baseball, I love the fact it's hard to get in. And there's comparables. Does WAR play too much of it? Sometimes, yes, it does. It's not a perfect formula, but typically you need 7 years of greatness, a 10-year kind of bookend. And that's what hurts a lot of guys, is they're just a little short with historic numbers. And those are important when you evaluate them, for me, position by position. Where does Utley stack up with second baseman? I'm not looking at where does this guy stack up against the greatest hitters. That's not it. And Jones, his 262 average sucks. We all know that. He's a 10-time Gold Glove winner with 434 home runs as a center fielder. Who's ever done that? Ken Griffey Jr., Willie Mays. If he had done it as a left fielder or right fielder, I don't know that he gets in. It's because of the uniqueness of the position. So again, it's a nuanced debate. I don't mind the criticism. I put my ballot out there. I accept it. But so what do you think? Take me through. I know Beltrán probably bothers you. You're a Kansas City guy to some degree. Take me through that.
And that would be the question that I would ask in the debate. And it's not even a debate. It would be the discussion, because I get where lines get drawn, and you do have to. And when you have a situation with Carlos Beltrán, who was a phenomenal player, an incredible talent that kind of, he did all of his thing in Kansas City, really outside of the glare that you get on either coast or in the big markets and stuff. But he was just a phenomenal player. And then obviously with Houston, and then his time later on, he got his flowers, and I have no problem with him being in the Hall of Fame. But as far as where the line is drawn, and I'll put it back, and I will ask you, if the simple argument is cheating, are there degrees of cheating that is acceptable, and degrees of cheating that obviously you're not willing to deal with?
Yeah, and this is the part that's hard, and I don't mind being uncomfortable with it, because it's part of the responsibility of voting. Corking a bat, pine tar, spider tack, it's all cheating. It is, and the banging on the trash can is cheating. It is. And I struggled with it, would I even vote for Beltrán? The issue with steroids for me, it's different. It's a federal crime. It's been a federal crime to illegally possess them since 1970. It's illegal. And so the way they cheated is historically bad. And I grappled with this idea of would I vote for Beltrán? And I ended up viewing his more if you have a felony versus a misdemeanor. And again, it's not perfect. It's not perfect.
Right.
I see the steroid thing as a felony crime. And the idea that everyone was doing it is not accurate. I know I covered a player who had a nervous breakdown because he wouldn't do steroids. And everyone around him was. I know everyone wasn't doing it. And it just bothered me as someone who coached kids all the time. I coach kids specifically that would have benefited greatly from PEDs, who would have played Division One or had a chance to play professionally. So when the greatest, we're already going to be Hall of Famers, do it and get caught doing it, like Manny Ramirez,
Right.
like A-Rod, those are the ones that are like easy. After testing came in, they still got caught. So that's easy. Bonds and Clemens, I understand, because it wasn't illegal in baseball. It was illegal in society. The banging on the trash cans, the simplest way I could explain it, Bruce, is I saw that as a misdemeanor. I didn't vote for Beltrán initially. That was my punishment toward him. I don't like being the gatekeeper that way, but I didn't just say, oh, that doesn't matter. It did matter to me. I didn't vote for him initially, and then eventually I did. And I saw it as a misdemeanor compared to the felony crime of steroid use and being caught using steroids.
Yeah, and I think that I think that that's a fair way to express it. Felony, misdemeanor, I can live with that. I know with my own eyes that Carlos Beltrán is a Hall of Fame ball player. I've seen it. I covered him. His skill set was unquestioned. So I'm good with that. But that's an interesting thing, and it leads me to my next question. We thought that this. I think that there were some people that thought with this younger generation, and as the Baseball Writers Association of America would start to farm out some of the more traditional thinking guys and gals that have covered baseball, and that you had this next wave of younger players that have lived with PEDs, that have lived with steroid controversies, and probably don't weigh in it as strongly as some of us that lived through it all of these years. But we're not seeing that. Where is that coming from, do you think? I mean, I think at one point I might have thought, okay, you get a different kind of voting in here from a younger group of voters, and A-Rod will have a chance to get into the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds may get there someday. I'm not so sure that I see it anymore. What's happened?
Yeah, the young voters lean more on analytics than we did. As when I came in and started voting, they lean much more on the analytical part of it. It's how, frankly, Larry Walker got into the Hall of Fame. And it is always ironic because he hated the analytics part of it. But it's how he got in, is the appreciation of his full game through analytics, almost like feeding it into a computer. And this is what he really was. And he passed the eye test, clearly. But the young voter is much more apt to side with the analytic argument, number one. And you saw that with the huge jump with Chase Utley. He jumped 20%, most year over year of anyone in this class. And only one survived. Only one new entry on that Hall of Fame ballot moved forward. I think it was Cole Hamels. Everyone else is off the ballot. Ryan Braun, go down the list. All these other guys are off the ballot. So, but the young voter has shown more sympathy toward the steroid player and the accused steroid player, but there's just not enough of them. I do wonder, because A-Rod's got 5 years left, will enough young voters come in over the next 5 years? It's a little unlikely because the way media works, there's just fewer people covering games now. But if another crops keep coming in of young voters, I would say he's got a chance to get voted in. And that's fine. I don't tell people who to vote for. I don't vote for him, but I don't tell other people who to vote for. It's one of the things I love about the Baseball Hall of Fame. We get an old school ballot, fill it out, and mail it back. Yeah. Like, that's how crazy it is. And I know I talk to people, but I don't ever tell anyone how to vote. I've never told someone how to vote for their Hall of Fame ballot. But why? I mean, I still think there is the line of demarcation with A-Rod and Manny specifically. I think, is Manny off the ballot? He might have fallen off too.
I think he's off.
Yeah, that they both got busted after testing was initiated.
Right.
Like their situation's different, Bruce, than guys who were part of the testing before they implemented the testing. You know, the guys who are the secret testing that then got revealed, the guy, grand jury testimony, like that was a different area where when Manny and A-Rod started getting tested and testing positive, that was public with suspensions. That's what I think. Manny tested positive 3 times, A-Rod at least twice, if not admitted to one and then tested positive twice. So that's where I think voters would still struggle with. And I don't think. I mean, A-Rod's in a race. He might have enough first-time voters. He's moving up, but I think Clemens and Bonds both settled in around 52, 53%.
Right.
So for those asking, you need 75% to get in, and that's a high threshold of 435 voters, 435 independent voters, and part of it too is it's an Eastern block of voters.
Right.
I mean, the New York papers and Boston papers. So, like, if you're not making headway with that group, you're not going to get in. There's not nearly as many of us out here out west.
Are Felix Hernandez and Chase Utley the two guys to watch for the next round?
Yeah, definitely Utley with that jump. Once you get into the 50s, you got a shot. It doesn't mean you'll get in, but once you get there, once you get to 70, I think everyone other than Kurt Schilling has gotten in, and Schilling basically begged voters not to vote for him and said, don't vote for me. So they didn't, myself included, because I did vote for him every year. I mean, I didn't like the person, but it doesn't matter. I voted for the guy. He didn't get in, but everyone usually when they get to 70 gets in. Like that's that. Once you get there, you're going to, even Todd Helton, we followed this. Eventually he got in. Keep an eye on Utley because of the power numbers and his postseason. The reason Beltrán's case is really easy to make is he was a postseason monster.
My God. Unbelievable.
And I covered the 04 postseason when he had 8 home runs. I mean, it was like a video game.
Yeah. When
he was with the Astros, I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, every time he was at the plate, you felt like he was going to hit a home run. But keep an eye on Utley because of the power in his postseason. Felix, every time you say it, my son was talking to a coach yesterday about this. Like, how can your dad not vote for Felix Hernandez? He's an obvious Hall of Famer. You think that until you look, he went off a cliff.
Yeah, he did.
Like he's like these 5 unreal years, and then woof. How could I put him in unless they set a new standard for pitching before Scherzer, before Verlander, before Kershaw? I mean, those guys are all Hall of Famers. For me, Felix, as a right-hander in the Hall of Fame, if you look at the metrics, like he doesn't have 200 wins. He doesn't have like this postseason. Like he's just missing these mileposts that you're really leaning on 5 years. Like you're trying to treat him like Koufax. And he wasn't that. Or even Dwight Gooden for me has a better case than Felix Hernandez.
Right.
If you're looking at 4 or 5 great years. So that's where it gets difficult. But I do think he'll have a shot. The young voters and the voters definitely seem to be warming to him more than I did. I haven't ruled out voting for him. I don't see it right now. Now, again, if the pitching standard starts to change, maybe my view on that change. But right now, I just think he's in the hall of very, very good.
Yeah, which isn't a bad hall to be in, but there's an outhouse, not a regular working bathroom in that hall of very good. All right, Troy, we'll do it again tomorrow. Thanks, my friend. I appreciate it. For all of us here at Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl, thanks for taking time out of your day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.